friends. Hey, Dan. We're back for the second episode of Two Guys Four Ball podcast. Dan, it probably took a little longer for our second episode than we wanted. But it's winter, it's cold, we're not doing much. We're playing indoor golf, I guess, is all we're doing. So we didn't really want to have an episode unless we had something exciting or new or fun to talk about. If you're new here or if you need a refresher, Dan and I have this podcast, Two Guys Four Ball podcast, and we're basically documenting our journey or our trying to anyway qualify for the U.S. Amateur Four Ball, which is a team best ball event that some of the best amateurs in the country go play in. And Dan and I are going to try and do that. We detailed in our first episode kind of how it works, what it is, what we're trying to do, what our goals are, all that stuff. So if you want to listen into more about that, get some background on that, go watch our first episode. I won't go into more detail then. But today, Dan, we have a special guest with us, and I have a crazy good intro for him. He is three-time Minnesota PGA Player of the Year, most recently in 2020, by the way. He has 67 wins and only 196 top 10s in the Minnesota PGA. He is playing in this year's 3M Open. So he is obviously a great player. He's Golf Digest best teacher by state, which is how I found him, actually. He's also been in Golf Digest top 10 under top 100 under 40. He's been Minnesota PGA Teacher of the Year. He's on TaylorMade staff, Nike staff, and maybe most importantly, probably has the cutest pup of all time on Instagram. His name is Graham. I think he has his own Instagram as well, which he deserves. And also, Coach Brent, he is our coach. Coach, thanks for taking some time to talk to us. How was that intro? Did I do it justice? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, some of that was earned, but I don't know if I deserve any of that. I appreciate you. I'd like to hang out, and it's wildly cold. It's quite an amazing climate that we have, and I think it's so fascinating how inspired this whole region is in respect to golf, despite some of the circumstances that we have to work through.
Right, it's pretty amazing. We in Minnesota here, we got, and you're over in Wisconsin, but we got all this snow, and we got all these golfers that are just itching to play golf, and pretty much all we got is indoor simulators. But I mean, you look around Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the places that have indoor simulators, it takes like a week in advance to just book one of those places just to be able to play around, and it's pretty amazing. And then you got you have your launch monitors and stuff, and people are doing that in their garages. I know I do it in my garage. I don't know if Dan is still doing his garage or not, but it's pretty insane. And then people I know, and I'm doing it too. We're trying to book destination flights to Arizona and Florida and all that stuff just to get out of the cold to play some golf. It's pretty amazing. So the reason we're having you on today is obviously you're our coach, and you actually kind of gave us the idea to kind of start this. Kind of gave us the idea. I don't think you knew what you were doing when you said it at the time.
Yeah, he definitely didn't.
And one of our recent lessons, you said, "Hey, you and Dan should team up and play some four ball." And we're like, "Okay."
Look,
and we kind of took it and ran with it.
At the end of the day, you've got motivated players. They get a little nudge that has basically nothing to do with me, but you have athletes that are motivated. And then I always start looking at, well, for anyone, what is your why? And what is this all about? Why are you doing this? And, if an athlete that's motivated can't answer the question why, then I usually have some concerns. Now, I'm blessed to have a certain type of client that's usually in front of me that knows exactly what their why is. So it made a lot of sense to start talking about competition. Both of you have made complete strides in your game. And from that, we look at trying to find ways to get uncomfortable. We want to grow and learn constantly, like every single day, just try to get up and learn and try to figure out how to get a little bit better. And I'm quite certain through my career and through trying to help others through their journey, we're not getting much better on the couch, and we're not getting all that much better just hitting balls. So we've got to put ourselves in some different environments. You guys being friends and the athletes that you are made a lot of sense to me. I've had so many clients playing four balls and, have some success locally and national championships and getting into the USGA four ball and all this stuff. I think just made sense for you guys to start throwing yourselves out there a little bit. Now, I will say I did not know there was going to be some content tsunami that went with you two playing the four ball together. So
I didn't even know there was going to be content.
We didn't really know either. Dan and I had talked about doing some type of content around golf before, and if Dan has social accounts on any social account you can think of where he's just doing golf content all the time.
Yeah.
And so we had talked about it, and then you kind of sparked the idea about playing competitively together, and I'm like, hey, well, here's our content. We're just gonna document how our games are gonna fit together, and try and go play a competition that probably at this point in our games that we've talked about before, we're probably not in the right spot with our games to be able to like qualify for this thing and do it at this moment. So it to me it felt like a kind of cool idea to just document our progress and our journey to at least giving this thing a shot, and then maybe it's a short thing that we do that we look back on and we're like, hey, look at how cool that was, or maybe we have this crazy improvement over the summer, and we do something special, and people can follow the journey. And I think that's exciting for us, but I think it's cool for other people to kind of follow along and watch too. So
yeah, you said it right. This whole thing not about outcomes and results. This whole journey in golf is, first of all, it's so dang hard. So you kind of need to fall in love with the process. You need to be super excited about the mundane. You need to be excited about the boring. You need to be willing to keep doing the same thing basically over and over, not to try to get it right, almost to the point of where you can't get it wrong. Now, the outcome and what number goes in the box at the end of the day is, to be honest with you, it hardly matters. Some of that stuff just takes care of itself.
Sure. Yep. Hey, so speaking of this improvement journey that we kind of just talked about a little bit here, do you remember over a year ago or so, I sent you an email that was probably about 3 pages long, and it was an intro email basically to you, and it was, so I documented my golf game at the time, and it was, if you print it out, it's probably 2 pages long when on paper. Do you remember that email? And do you remember having any thoughts of the first time I was going to come in to see you? And were you at all nervous about what kind of person I was going to be after that email?
We got another live one, huh? We got another crazy one. What I see from people most of the time when I'm contacted, it is to that degree. Your personality took it to the nth degree, but it usually is to some degree, to some capacity of, they have a fair amount of understanding of where there's some things that are lacking and where they see they can find some improvements. It feels like low-hanging fruit to them, but they're kind of unaware of how deep and how far you need to go into that process. And so I wasn't totally freaked out, if that was your question.
Yes, that was my question.
No, not at all. I think the goal aspect of it, I think, is really interesting, right? Yeah. So people get deep into these goals, and they get deep into, if I do X and put in Y, I'm going to get Z. And be honest with you, the golf ball and the game doesn't think that way.
Right.
So I think that's the only trick to this whole bit. And, you spend some time, right? You spend some time on the course. We work together. I'm not holding anyone's hand. It's normal for me to maybe see a client once a month, maybe twice a month. I'm not with people multiple hours a week with the same person. That's not how I go, because I'm massively into empowerment and the player learning their pattern and understanding their pattern. And I think what's so valuable is you learn club face, you understand ball flight laws, and a great player is just a great adjuster. And all this stuff starts kind of seeping into your game, and it seeps into your process. And then all of a sudden you start realizing, whoa, my handicap's 6 different than it was 6 months ago or something like that. You get these ginormous steps, right? Now, the problem is the triangle gets pretty tight at the top. So you start getting pretty good at golf, and then you start looking at, well, how am I going to pick up a half a shot per side? Or, an elite player, what am I going to get a quarter of a shot per side or an eighth of a shot per side? And you really start dissecting this stuff. So you better love it. In the beginning, it's pretty darn fun, because
Right.
I don't remember exactly where your handicap was when we started, but for you to be basically scratched now is, well, it's all you guys, right? You guys are the workers. I just kind of stand there and drink coffee.
Well,
That is true.
mine was an 8 when we started. It's a 2 now. I think the high was like 1.6 or so. So what you're saying is going from a 2 to a +5 is probably not as easy as it was going from an 8 to a 2.
Yeah, I mean, 8 to 2, you can get it right. And you look at the journey early for someone that's just playing and just getting started, right? I mean, you can be at 25 and get a couple of decent pieces of information and put some work ethic in, and you can be single digit within a year, no problem.
Sure.
You got to work.
Yeah.
Work for sure.
But you're right. I mean, a 2 down to a scratch, or a scratch to a +2 or something like that. Then it's just little things, it's probably some proximity stuff. It's still kind of low hanging fruit though. How many 3-putts do you have? What is your dispersion? What is your strokes gained on putting? Where is that in relation to the best players in the world?
Right.
Do you make 100% of your putts inside of 5 feet, inside of 3 feet?
Right.
Just little stuff. You chip it to 6 feet and lip it out. It's a painful journey. You chip it to 3.5 feet and make it every time. You get some different results.
Yeah, that's for sure. I can tell you that stuff is an issue for me. Dan, it's not an issue for you though, is it? I think that's probably
my 3-footers maybe, my 6-footers no. For some reason.
I think a lot of it too is learning, you kind of dance with the one you brought, right? You need to understand your pattern. And I think there's a level of shot making on the shorter clubs, right? And I think as a player gets more and more accomplished, they're probably more comfortable with the shorter clubs to hit the shot that's kind of asked of them. On a longer club, I mean, really, right? I mean, the best players in the world will shape it and create a certain spin rate depending on hole locations. But, you get on 190, 200 yard par 3. Are we really trying to make 2? Right? I think this really complete understanding of conversion and avoidance is a really big deal, right? You guys both have the ability to make enough birdies, right? So it's not necessarily a conversion thing. It's more the silly stuff, right? Where I start chasing a pin with a 5-iron or something like that. And then all of a sudden I make a quick bogey.
Yeah.
So the game,
Dan and I did
avoidance at the high level is it's a big game.
Yeah, for sure. Dan and I did in our first episode here. We did spend some time on that, and that Dan, I think you have admitted this too before, that is something you struggle with on the course sometimes. Is we're on a 190 yard par 3 or whatever, and you're looking right at the pin, and obviously you miss to one side and you're short sighted and you're dead. And that's something that's a strength in my game that we talked about is, I hardly ever am looking at pins unless they're right in the dead center of the green. So you guys,
if you're starting to manufacture some ideas for the 4-ball, then that kind of yin and yang is an asset, right?
Yeah, right? That was I was gonna say that was gonna be one of my main questions to you here is there a difference between playing solo competitions and playing team ball? Is there a combination of team that works best, or is there different strategies we have to take?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say yes. I've for years played the the Minnesota PGA Four-Ball Championship, which is season long for us. You go through a match play tree, basically a match play bracket throughout the season. My partner and I have been fortunate enough to win that championship 3 times. So we have some history behind us. We're both, his name is Eric Rowland. He's a head coach at Augsburg University for both the men and the women. Super, super talented player, and very, very, very educated student of the game. Just a really, really high golf IQ, and really understands the game at a tournament level, which is a ball control level. And it's pretty fun, I'm not going to lie. Now, both of us, I think, would deem ourselves to be more conservative players in general. I certainly would not feel like I'm an overtly aggressive player by any stretch. So it's, we kind of just wear them down, right? It wasn't necessarily a thing. We can get going on certain tracks. We've had plenty of, events where, the match is done by hole 12 or 13 because we've already put in 8 birdies or something like that. But that's more just, you get a little hot streak and you make a couple putts and you hit a couple leaners in there, and, they add up to a low score. But most of the time it's just, we just don't make a lot of mistakes. Now, in the situation of a 4-ball, there has to be some level of, we do need to go here a little bit, right? So I'm so stroke minded, right? I'm so stroke play minded where we're just never going to give them away. I know even par on a championship golf course with the type of professionals that I'm playing against on the most circumstances, it's very rare I'm playing against a PGA Tour player. So in most circumstances, if I can rip out a bunch of pars, I'm going to handle a big percentage of the field, not trying to make anything too elaborate, right? In a 4-ball, you do have to have a little bit more of a go to it, right? So now that's probably not with wedges. Even in stroke play, I'm going to try to hold out wedges all the time, but I might take a little bit more of a look at a 9-iron or an 8-iron or a 7-iron or something like that. I'm still, even in a 4-ball situation, I understand on a 200-yard hole, a 3 is a good score.
Sure.
That's just a good score, right? But I will probably take a couple more looks with mid irons that I won't necessarily take in a stroke play event. And I'll probably be a little bit more aggressive off the tee as well, which just puts shorter clubs in my hand, which just gives me more wedge opportunities.
Do you recommend having one person play more conservative and one
I think
play
it's really
aggressive?
important. I think it would be important for you guys to spend some time on the course leading up to the event. I do think for quite some time you want to feel like you're just staying in your lane and playing your game.
Okay.
I think you would come into more concerns trying to play differently or play a style of golf that you're not comfortable with. So in the event, go ahead.
So basically just play what the hole gives you, what the course gives you. Don't try to go too much. Just hit your numbers.
Yeah, you're not going to go too much. I think most of it would be wedges for sure. If you're really thinking about like, how are we going to make more birdies, right? You're going to have to handle like all the par 5s, right? Yeah. And then when you do get scoring opportunities in your hand, both of you, like, you both need to be in play. Like, it's a big deal not to leave your partner on his own, right? Mm-hmm. So I think with that team component, that does come up, right? If you're both always in play and you're both always putting and you're both always in the game, there is a massive amount of comfort in that. Now, but I'm gonna be honest, that's a pretty big ask. Okay, yeah. So you both need to be in a position where you feel like you have control over your golf ball. Because if you put less pressure on each other and you can kind of just do your deal and you guys can go at it, you have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no secret.
You might lose a friendship over this thing too, though.
I hope not.
No,
I seriously doubt it.
We played enough tournaments, so
that's pretty funny. The keep it in play thing. That's the one thing Dan and I have talked about mostly is it's a big issue for me. I lose a lot of strokes on the course, and just did it playing indoor golf yesterday. I had 8 birdies and I had 2 8s on the card as well, and they were both because I hit 2 tee shots out of bounds on both holes.
Yeah.
So that is a focus that we've been working on for sure. And
the formula isn't brain surgery, right?
Right.
It's be in play. It's have opportunities. You guys need to hit a lot of greens between the two of you, right?
Yep.
And you got to be in play in order to do that, right? So you don't want to. You just over time you try to sort out, are there any like liabilities that you feel like are pretty dramatic in your game, right? I don't think any of them are dramatic. You probably don't want to make 2 8s, Josh. You know what I mean?
No. one of them was a par 4, one of them was a par 5, and the teams were just pretty brutal.
Right.
Yeah, making 8th is no good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just wait till you see my driver. Then you'll see dramatic here.
I was going to ask
some
you,
of those recent videos you've been sending me, it looks pretty tight.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to give Dan some crap about. I'm not sure if you've swung driver with Dan or not yet, but his backswing is pretty unique. It's like John Daly-esque. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are
he's
on
doing,
Dan's backswing.
and maybe he probably just tones it down for me to not bring out the truth. But the stuff he's been starting to send me, we've done a lot of stuff on the shorter clubs and on the irons and getting some real control in the golf swing. And he's got a lot of structure now and doing awesome, hitting really good shots. So he started sending me some drivers just kind of on his own, and I wasn't alarmed by any stretch. So it sounds like it must be very different than what he sends me.
It at least used to be. He'll have to send you some old videos just so you can see how insane it was. So Dan's a very flexible, very athletic guy, so he can get the club way back there if he really wants to. So you could, it's pretty comical. His social media account, his logo or whatever is his backswing because of how unique it was.
Turn's good, speed's good.
Yeah.
Pretty interested in people knowing where the club face is, though. So if you got both of them, I'm all in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that was probably the problem. It was way back there. Couldn't figure out how to get it back.
No, I mean, I saw the club face the whole time. It was always in my vision.
Yeah, I know where the club face is. I can see it out of my left eye in my back. So don't worry about it.
Too funny. Hey, so speaking of trying to keep the ball in play, this is kind of we're going to come up here. Dan and I are going to have to play a qualifier, most likely at a course that we've never played before. Is there any strategies or anything you do to help prepare yourself to, other than obviously going and playing the course? I mean, that's the
yeah.
Do, but any strategies or any ideas you got on how to prepare for a course that you've never been on and never played?
Yeah, so certainly spend the time, right? You've got to put in the work. And I'll tell you what, invariably, there's usually, whether you're really comfortable on a course or hardly know a golf course, there's usually 1 or 2 tee shots that are going to make you uncomfortable. They just don't quite look right to your eye, or there's a certain visual to it that it just doesn't fit. You're gonna see that almost on every golf course. It's absolutely imperative going to the golf course for sure. Google Maps, technology, Blue Golf. There are some amazing, Josh, you can probably speak to this even more than I am, being the technical guru, but there are so many ways to start mapping out golf courses and charting golf courses. The visual in terms of what I do, sometimes certainly we have the luxury of these pretty intense yardage books that are world-class and phenomenal. And I've got a smart guy standing right next to me carrying my bag as well, who's been on my bag for a very long time, right? 15 plus years now. So we have just documentation of basically everything that we've ever done. He just keeps books on all my stuff. And when we're going to a new course, things that we're going to look at right away, we're certainly going to look at wind conditions. What's the natural flow of the golf course and how tee shots set up? What is usually the prevailing wind? Yada, yada. From a tee shot, I'm going to definitely pick out like start lines. And I'm going to have a couple variables depending on what the wind condition is going to be or what it could be. That's about it on the tee shots. Honestly, I just need kind of a start line and a shot shape. We usually are going to basically only play one shot with the driver. I don't try to move driver in both directions. If I need to move something to the left, then I would look at, changing that spin rate. So I'd probably go down, either do a 3-wood or something like that, where I know I could turn it over a little bit easier. Into the greens and charting the greens is 70-80+% of it. What the surface is like, how the ball responds, really, right? So you start getting to a position where a big valuable piece of information is what the first bounce is, right? So is it something where I can bring in flat and it can take this one bounce and be done? Or is it pretty soft where I'm going to have to work really hard to kind of keep spin rates off of the golf ball where the ball's not spinning too much into the greens? So whether it's firm or super slopey or if it's pretty fast and stuff like that, invariably there's always a spot to leave it, right? Understanding where to come in from, where to leave it. This assumption that we're going to hit 18 greens, it's probably not a great assumption, right? So we need to understand some positive positions and some negative positions. All those would also be contingent on hole locations, but you can get a pretty good sense of where hole locations will be once you start playing in a bunch of tournaments. You get a good feel where they're going to put them.
Sure.
I think that would be the bulk of it. And I'll even chart out the slopes, and I mean, we'll do all that if I have the time. And if it's a very big tournament of a golf course that I haven't played, then I will really be diving into it. How many steps on, right? So front edge is 22. There's a ridge at 27. It flattens out at 29, and then it goes back down another ridge at 32. Those are all numbers off of that front edge, right? So then if I get a shot into the green and I've got a whole location sheet, I know exactly where the ridge is. I know exactly which way it's going to fall, right? But then it falls on the execution, which is a whole other aspect.
Right.
There's a lot to it. I mean, we could talk for hours on this, but I think understanding where slopes are and not being concerned about a slope or the severity of a slope as it being a deterrent, but having the ability to use that slope to your advantage in relation to a whole location.
Gotcha.
Now, what would you suggest? So right now, I was looking on it, and the closest tournament that it is actually in Wisconsin. They don't have a Minnesota one yet. What would you suggest? How do you prepare for that if you can't actually get on that course early enough? Because it looks like it is a country club, a private one.
Okay.
So how would you suggest preparing for one?
Yeah, this is for the U.S. 4-ball?
Yeah.
Okay, so my hope is they're going to let you on at some point. Right, they'll probably let you set up a practice round. So then from there, I think we get into the bird's eye view stuff. Start getting into the blue golf stuff. Blue golf does a pretty good job. As long as that golf course is on blue golf, you can get the aerial of the golf course, and then you can click an icon on the tee box you're going to be playing, and then you can click an icon to where the first bunker is out in the fairway, and it'll give you what that yardage is, which is crazy. I mean, you can start kind of plotting your way around the entire golf course. So the only thing, which is an important thing, is the green structures. It's hard to simulate that, and it's hard to simulate the turf.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But you can definitely plot out, what you're going to be hitting and where it's going to be going. And it would be multiple times, right? Because you're going to get into some visualization where you start feeling comfortable with kind of the flow of the golf course before you're even on property.
Now, when you map that out, would you start doing, I guess, like pre-shot routines on the driving range? So you look at these holes. So like say hole number 1, I got to hit this. So you kind of go through your bag, like playing the course, but on the driving range.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, and I think that's really good. I personally don't. I'm just kind of loosening up my body and hitting shots. If there is a really specific shot on the golf course that I know of, or certainly I've had some big tournaments where my first shot of the day is a par 3. if I have a 10th tee start or something like that, usually hole number one's not going to be a par three, but sometimes you get a 10th tee start and that's a par three. I will definitely hit, those couple 6-irons or whatever that shot is before I head out. In general, playing the golf holes before on the range, I don't personally do it. I have plenty of clients that do. I have plenty of good players that think that way. And I think that's an inside job. I think that's a preference.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, the time's pretty much kind of flying here. We got you a couple of minutes longer than we had planned here. Dan, you got any other questions? Like I'm through most of the technical questions I had. You got anything else you got for Coach?
No, I think those were just a couple that I had, really.
Cool. So actually, you know what? I do have a question that's been bothering me. That probably more than it should. So I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. So Dan and I have been playing sports together for forever, obviously. And here's the thing. I don't know what to call you, and this is what I mean. Dan and I are playing sports. We have coaches that, as we're kids, we're growing up, and our coaches, the only thing we call them is coach. All right. And like Dan's dad, for example, coached us in a bunch of sports. I only called him coach. My dad coached us, and the only time I didn't call my dad was when he was my coach. So this has been bothering me. Do your clients and your students call you coach? Do they call you Brent? Do they call you Coach Brent? What am I supposed to call you?
This is great. I've actually never been asked this question whatsoever. So I don't even know how to answer. Bro, you can call me whatever you want. Very few people call me coach. I think when people invest time with me and they start a relationship with me, it's just that. So it probably doesn't necessarily feel like coach hierarchy by any stretch of the imagination. We're just a bunch of really passionate people hanging out, and we're super like-minded, right? So man, you can call me whatever you want. I haven't heard coach a lot.
Well, I'm gonna go with coach then.
Some of my
I was gonna say, you're probably the only one that calls him coach.
Yeah, you probably are. Some of my long-term dudes and some of my close friends, they call me Butch, which is very humbling. So with a little bit of respect to Mr. Harmon.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm going with coach then, because that's what I'm used to. So
that's you. That's you. It's all you. What I'm doing. You've got that whole space to yourself now, which is beautiful. It's yours.
Sweet. All right. Well, so what's next? What's next for you? You got tournaments coming up. You playing anywhere?
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we the trick now, since the PGA Championship was shifted to May, the trick for us Northern boys is trying to figure out how to play great golf in April. So I'm going to be heading down to Florida, late April, for the Club Professional National Championship. So it's a wild deal. There's 312. It's the biggest professional field in golf in the world. And somehow they stripped that thing all the way down to 20 players. And those top 20 will be playing in Kiawah Island for the PGA Championship. So humbled to be in that field. I think this is my 10th national championship. So snuck through once at Whistling Straits for the PGA Championship. So I got it in me somewhere. I just got to try to find it again. So we'll keep battling. So I'll jump around and get out of town here and there, but I'm home a lot and with my clients all the time and hanging out and trying to help people get better and try to somehow prepare for April on my own as well.
Right. And you're so you still putting in work on that ripstick? I know last time we talked to you.
Yeah, my boys. Yeah, so Dr. Luc Lenoir is a good friend of mine, and Scott McDonald. These are really sharp golf professionals, and they came up with this ripstick stuff, and they're doing a good job. I need some speed. The joke of why I hit it so straight is I just don't hit it hard enough to go too far offline, but I could use a couple miles per hour.
Yeah. You got a record on that thing? I know I've seen you've been working with some clients. You got a monitor there somewhere. You got a record there? I think I don't beat it.
It's crazy. I hardly teach speed, and a lot of my players can really, really move it. I've got plenty of 120 plus guys, which is just nuts. Their cruising speed is 116, 117, 118. Yeah. And I play golf at 106 with the driver, and I do okay at 106.
Yeah,
so
obviously,
it comes down to, you look at smash factors and you look at spin rates and all this stuff. But shoot, I wouldn't mind to hit it at 110. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
If I could pick up 4, I'd borrow that.
for sure. Well, I'm coming to see you in a couple weeks here. I'm gonna try and set your ripstick record, I think, and see if you can
Perfect.
get any of your clients to
Yeah.
beat it.
Yeah, we'll get it all documented up.
Sweet. And you're obviously, I mentioned at the beginning, you got yourself into the 3M Open with your phenomenal play in 2020. I assume you're doing some prep for that too.
Yeah, that'll be coming up down the road, and obviously an amazing opportunity. The section player of the year for Minnesota, they deemed that player to always receive the exemption. When the PGA of America split from the PGA Tour, it was kind of built in there where the tour had to hold a spot for the section wherever the tour was playing at that given time. So I did earn that spot, and I'll graciously accept it. And but more than anything, I really want to use that opportunity to help as many people as possible. So that platform gives me great opportunity to do some junior clinics and do some foundation work, and just get more exposure to Minnesota golf and the Minnesota PGA. Me playing in the field is obviously unbelievable. I don't have illusions that I'm going to take down the 3M Open and show a bunch of PGA Tour players what's up. That's not the case at all. I know enough of them close enough to know how unbelievably talented they are and how hard they work. So I need to look at it for all the right reasons, and just be so humbled and grateful to be in the field, but also try to help as many people along the way.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna plan on being there. I'm gonna be cheering you on. Hope you got that mindset. I'm gonna go watching in the mindset, hoping you win. So
I appreciate that. It won't be a lack of effort, I can promise you that.
That's for sure. Dan, you got anything else, or should we be done with this thing?
No, I don't really have anything else right now. So
cool. Well, thanks again for taking some time on this is probably your one off day in 365 days. So
I don't take days off. And Coco the Queen, I took the day off. She's like, "What? You took the day off?" So yeah, I appreciate it. It's really nice you guys to have me on, and I certainly appreciate it. It's nice chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks for all the information. It was super helpful, and hopefully everybody enjoys it. We're happy to have you. Hopefully we'll probably have you on again when we get closer to this thing. Make sure we're in the right mindset before.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's do something in the summer, or we'll tie some in where we're all together out at Troy Burn, and we'll have someone take care of the video stuff, and the 3 of us can hang out and talk about it a little bit.
Perfect. That sounds great to me. All right. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. I don't know when you're seeing Dan again, but appreciate your time and appreciate all the information.
Yeah, thanks for everything. I'll see you in a couple weeks as well.
All right, sounds great, boys.
Yep.
Take care.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye.
Bye-bye.